I love the vibe of our opening music.
Yeah.
Makes me feel good.
Yeah, some good lo-fi.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
settle in for a rant.
Settle in for some radically affirmative new thought. Here we are. Hi, St. Steph.
Hi, Dr. Jay-Z.
What's going on today?
What's going on? Yes, I'm sitting in a sea of blue, living my best life, feeling good and ready for a radically affirmative new thought. How about you?
I love it. I am sitting where I always sit, in my beautiful office at Unity of Tucson. And I'm ready for a radically affirmative new thought. You know, one of the things that I used to have a camera, and I could show you like the view outside my window. That camera's gone away a long time ago, but boy, I wish I could show you that view. I mean,
yeah, I loved that. I love seeing that view. You would flip it over and we'd see coyotes or what are the things coyotes chase?
See, like, come on.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Tucson is beautiful.
Tucson is beautiful. It really is beautiful. I can't believe I just picked up my camera and just like, here, look at this.
Why not? Okay, beloveds. We are here for radically affirmative new thoughts. Let's get our thinking caps on and share in the comments that you're here. Let us know you're watching. Click on all those clicks. We've got loves, we've got likes, we've got thumbs up if you're watching over on YouTube. We've got all the things. And of course, we love those comments. So start filling up the comments. Let us know you're here, where you're watching from, what radically affirmative new thought you want to buzz into today. We're so happy to be here with you.
Yes.
Got a
Angela, happy Friday. Great to see you.
Hey, Angela.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, be kind, Audrey.
That's cute. Be kind. I see you.
Kind.
I get it.
Yeah. Keep those comments coming through. So I'm Dr. Jay-Z, Dr. Jonathan Zenz, and I'm the senior minister at Unity of Tucson. Just in case there's anyone who doesn't know who I am.
Yes.
We should never take for granted that there aren't new people joining us on a Friday. And who are you?
I am Rev Steph St. Amand. I am the spiritual director of One Love Awakening, and as I say every day, and so much more.
I get it.
Because there's so much more going on in this life. Oh my goodness. And so I'm sitting in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I had to get out my car scraper today. My window scraper had to. I did. Yeah, 3 degrees Celsius this morning. I came out to a frosty car this morning.
I feel so envious.
You need some cooling down?
We do. It has been unseasonably hot, not just warm, hot here. Today, the predicted high is 101 degrees Celsius.
Ooh, October?
In October. Yeah. And so I was telling, before we got on to the live stream, I was mentioning to Steph that last Saturday, was our Pride Festival here in Tucson. We moved Pride, used to be in June in Tucson. They moved Pride to October because ostensibly it was cooler. And it was brutally hot. It was like 110 degrees outside in the park for the Pride Fest. It was just...
My goodness.
Anita, grateful to see you, and hello to William as well. Grateful to know that you're watching.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, Anita and William. I'm doing. Everybody can do this. If you're watching on your cell phone, you just hit the share button, and I'm just gonna share into some groups here. We've got this group, and we've got this group. Just share away. Go ahead, click that share button. We've got rants on the way for sure. Oh my goodness, look at all these groups I can share it into.
So I have a question for you.
Yes, last one. Okay, present.
Here's my question, and this goes back to, so I did a little thing which you're not aware of, Steph.
Okay.
I went through and I pulled up some of my written homework from a long time ago.
Yes.
So I found this short paper that I wrote. It's like 3 or 4 paragraphs. And it starts off with this question. And this is the question I want to ask you. Does God have a plan?
Does God have a plan?
Mm-hmm.
What's it planning for?
Well, my question is,
Yeah, does God
does
have
God
a
have a plan?
plan?
Because here's why this comes up. I
That's
think this
deep.
was in relationship to the concept of divine will. And we do
Mm-hmm.
teach divine will, right? Well, I think sometimes we think about will as like a forward moving thing, right? That seems to indicate that there might be a plan.
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
And the reason I'm gonna say yes is because I think God's plan is to be the flow.
To be the flow.
Yeah.
Why does God need
So
a plan to be the flow? Makes me wonder.
it is the flow. It's just acting as its own nature. And so if the nature of the divine is to be, then that's the plan. So anything outside, anything that would separate itself from its divine nature would definitely not be planned.
Right.
Because it is the plan.
Oh, so there's an interesting thing to consider. When I ask the question, does God have a plan? It is as though it is something that can be owned or held,
Right.
and that is not the case.
Yeah.
God is the plan.
God is the plan. God
Yeah.
is the plan. Yeah. And as the human condition, because it's a condition, it's temporary. We're flesh buckets filled with stardust and water, and it's temporary. But that which is our natural state of being, which is divine, and it is God, then our plan is to simply return to ourselves. And so when, I talk about this all the time, if we're feeling struggle, if we're feeling strife, if we're feeling worry or doubt, we have created a separation from our own mental expression of the divine mind. And because there is no suffering in God's plan, there is no suffering God doesn't second guess itself. Oh, I shouldn't have put a tree there. Oh, they're going to put a road there someday. Right? That's crazy making. We in our limited understanding of our God self put in the roadblocks, and we see things. Oh, who put this tree in front of me? Nobody put the tree in front of you.
Yeah. You kind of went down the road that I went down in this paper. I wrote, does God have a plan? How can this be? God is the allness of the universe. Isn't it limiting to anthropomorphize God? I mean, that's essentially what you're doing. Is if you say God has a plan, then you're anthropomorphizing, right?
Yeah.
And then I wrote, God doesn't decide for me whether I am healthy or sick, rich or poor, with whom I have relationships in my life. And God doesn't decide what I do for a living, right?
Right.
Wrong, I wrote.
Wrong.
Here's why.
Well,
God,
I know.
God does decide.
Yeah.
God decides through me and as me. I am a conduit through which God has an experience, and I am but one conduit among infinite conduits. I say this not to limit myself or to undermine the limitless expression of God. The decision of God is my decision. When I decide to be healthy, I am healthy. When I decide to be rich, I am rich. When I decide to have friends, I have friends. When I decide on perfect creative expression, it happens perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I am the anthropomorphization, as we all are, of the divine.
You are God in form. You are how
I am God in
expression
drag.
of God is expressed, right? Yeah. Like, and was it Ernest Holmes who said, if you want a friend, be a friend?
Yeah, basically. Well,
right?
Most mystics have said something along those lines. Yeah.
Right. So everything that is in my life is an experience that God is having. That, like, especially if for someone like me, my mind doesn't shut off. It doesn't. Unless I'm meditating or praying, then it's just open to a singular focus. But there's a sensation within me that I would call a calling. I feel pulled towards this occupation
Mm-hmm.
or
What
vocation.
what is the source of that pull, do you think?
And it's just my higher knowing of the presence within me, knowing me better than me.
But is it inevitable
Is what inevitable?
that you be pulled into that direction?
A pulling. We're using words, and therefore we're limiting our understanding
You sound
of
like me in class on
consciousness.
Monday nights.
Yeah, right. We're like, words. Could I just download the expression and experience, the vibration, the frequency to other people? And so anything I do that has a title, that has, something that I'm in the world, is a separation from the singularity that is within me, that is God already.
Mm-hmm.
So there is nothing pulling me, because there's nothing to be pulled to.
Okay.
And when I feel pulled towards something, it feels like I'm on the right path. It feels like I'm confident and certain. It feels like all those things that I trust the God mind within me is always already. It already is certain. It already is what it is required. It's
Right.
my mind returning it to the place of inseparability.
So I have to change my story a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I have greater clarity now as to what unfolded in the past. So my story is always, when I was introduced to the philosophy of New Thought, I was strong. I will say I was strong-armed. I mean, there are no mistakes. Nobody strong-armed me. I did make a decision, but it was a decision that was kind of, strongly encouraged by those around me. I was strongly encouraged to go to a Sunday service.
Yeah.
Not for the purposes of the philosophy. It was for a different purpose. If you know the story, you know the story. I'm not going to recount it. But I got to the Sunday service and I sat down and I thought, oh my gosh, this resonates with me. This resonates with me. And I started going every single week, right? And I went from being totally unchurched to all of a sudden going to a celebration every single week in what was called a church, right? And it was about 6 months in, and this is the way that I have languaged the experience. I was sitting in that Sunday celebration, and I was looking at the minister on stage, and I had this kind of light pop on that went, oh, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And the language challenge here is in the supposed to be. There was something in me that was saying, I would like to do that.
Yeah.
That was translating itself into a supposed to be. So there's an interesting, and you're right, because this actually does kind of come down to language. And language is, as I do say in my Monday night class, language is a very clumsy tool to try to express what it is we want to express. And the nature of God is ineffable. It is beyond language. It is beyond limited ideas. And so every time we talk about it, every time we have a radically affirmative new thought, we are limiting the construct. We're limiting the idea.
Yeah.
So I have to change my story. Find some other way of expressing that.
Yeah. It's like Wake Up, Say Thank You's intro song. I wake up to a brand new story, right? Yes. We do have some comments and questions.
Yeah. I'm not trying to ignore them. And let's say hello. Hi to Herbert.
Hi, Herbert.
See you. Yeah. And Anita has a good question, because you said this earlier. What do you mean by separate itself from its divine nature? And I think the context was, I believe the context was that you were indicating that God cannot be separate from its own divine nature. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it cannot be separate from its own divine nature. It is a presence. It is a source. It's a substance. It's an energy. It's consciousness. And it's all of that in its purest, infallible form.
Right.
And so when spirit is infinite, absolute, and eternal. It's omnipresent. It cannot separate itself. It cannot.
So I think what's important here, though, for me, is that we, as individualizations, as facets of spirit with volition, the opportunity to make choices in our lives, we can decide to feel separate from spirit, which is an odd thing, but it is in the feeling of separation that we welcome the possibility of discord in our lives. And that's why when I go to my mission statement here at Unity of Tucson, that third construct is how I approach that happening sometimes.
Yeah.
And that is, remember who you are. Remember who you are. You can never be separate from. There's no aspect of you that can ever be separate from. Yeah. But you can perceive yourself as separate from. And boy, does that lead to challenge. At least it has in my life.
Yeah. And it's in our nature to be human. Why? Because we're human beings. Yeah. It's in the divine nature. Like we are expressing humanly, just like a squirrel expresses squirrely. It knows nothing. A squirrel. Yes, I said it.
I am done.
It knows nothing outside of being a squirrel. The thing about human beings is that we have a human nature. It's in our nature. And so all of that, like when we listen to that divine voice that is infallible, that untouched place, the life we live, for sure, it has rough spaces. That's sticky stuff. It has hard bumps. I don't know how many times I've been stuck in between a hard place and a rock. And somehow I get through. And that getting through is spirit. Because it's in my divine nature to pull through. Yeah. Because any block in my path is an illusion. Any hard place or rock in my life is an illusion that I am telling a story about myself. But there is something inside of me that's inside of everyone that is resilient, that is audacious, that is tenacious, that is everything we require to get through this freaking day. We have that inside of us, and we are powerful beyond measure, and it's in our nature. So any separation in my life, like I know speaking from my own experience, my life, when it has been in struggle, when it has had suffering, when it has had pain in my life, I was forcing something. I was trying to be in control of something outside of myself, which is uncontrollable. And I have been there's moments in my life that have been so crystal clear. It's like jolting up in bed. This was years ago, like in the middle of depression and anxiety, jolting out of bed because a voice smacks me upside the head and says, "Get yourself to church." I'm like, I don't go to church. Why do I want to do that? Well, you can try something. You can try something, because what you've been doing has gotten you to this place. And if we want to change our lives, we get to. Yeah. And that one jolting out of bed changed the trajectory of my whole experience. I never went back to that church that I found. But there was something in the message that I received, right? And so that tune, you can tune into that all the time. Yeah. Right? Like I really resonate with your "supposed to" comment, because for me, my whole so much of my life, I'm supposed to be good. I'm supposed to be all of these things.
Well, who supposes that?
You put a lot of weight. Yeah, you put a lot of weight on things like that. And sometimes you're digging holes.
I wonder how many of us, feel that it is our lot in life to have a life of dis-ease or discord. And so we just think, oh, well, this is the way life is supposed to be. And it really does beg the question for me repeatedly, what is doing the supposing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and letting go of the notion that anything is supposed to be. The nature of our experience is a demonstration. I'm trying not to use the jargon that we use, but the nature of our experience in and as life is is 100% attributable to the way we use our share of an infinite consciousness, what we might call mind. And our use of that is governing the experience. And if it's kind of New Thought 101. If you are not happy with your life, no one else is going to change it for you. God will change it for you, but by means of its expression as you. And so you are empowered to do something about it.
Yeah.
But it's got to be an inner change.
Yeah. I was looking at quotes from Emerson on self-reliance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right there. Well, Walter Emerson, nothing can bring you peace but yourself. Nothing can bring you peace but the triumphant of principles.
Yeah.
Right. Our life is peaceful when we practice principles, when we know and learn and study these principles and trust they are infallible, like gravity. You can't change gravity. You can't change electricity. It exists and you can't do a thing about it but harness its power.
Yeah.
Right. So peace exists and we can't do anything about it. We can't change it in any way, but demonstrate its principle through our own being of peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Emerson. I love Emerson.
I love Emerson.
I showed this on my mindful moment, I think just yesterday, but you know that when I got my doctorate in consciousness studies, this was a gift. You can see it up there, that wood carving.
Yeah.
And it on the little arc on top, it says Ralph Waldo Emerson. And the quote that is carved in is, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a gift from my community to me, and I'm so grateful. Yeah.
That's lovely. That's a great gift.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even like Ernest Holmes quoted Emerson, right? Like
all the time.
This big book over here filled with Emerson quotes.
Yeah. Well, and Fenwick, who is Ernest Holmes' brother, Fenwick Holmes, is quoted with saying that when Ernest was growing up, he would read Emerson, and to him it was like drinking water. That's how important Emerson was for Ernest Holmes. Yeah. And actually, I'm going to go find it.
I would say the same thing about Holmes for me. Reading Holmes.
There's an interesting thing that happens in the Unity movement. Emerson is not really part of the curriculum that is put forth by Unity in terms of like their spiritual education enrichment courses, but I love Emerson. And one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to bring Emerson, a whole class on Emerson, to my community here. And when I did that, hold on, I'm just trying to find. There's that. I found this quote from Charles Fillmore, and it made me want to go to Unity Worldwide and say, we must be looking at this. We must be teaching Emerson, but I've got to find it. So talk amongst yourselves for just a moment.
Well, here's another Emerson quote, just like on this page, that is like, whoa. This is why I love Emerson. Because he says things like, God will not have his work made manifest by cowards.
That's right.
It's like, whoa, you've got to be brave to be yourself. You've got to be brave and courageous to know who you are, to love only, to forgive everything, and remember who you are. You have to be brave. And you don't even need to know you're brave, right? You just, because that's your nature. Yeah. There, like, oh my goodness. I love Emerson.
I love Emerson too so much. Yes. I found the PowerPoint, so I'm just opening it up, and then I'm going to go to that slide, and then I'm going to show it because I think it's
Nice.
important.
Love it. Love it. Hey, those watching, do you have a favorite Emerson quote?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. I see Audrey.
Because I know everybody out there reads Emerson like it's drinking water.
Drinking water. Yeah. You know, it's fun. It's funny. I started reading Emerson essays again, and I was like, wow, it's been a minute. And you have to read every paragraph like 7 times. You do to get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Audrey said God's plan is singularity. I'm not sure if that one went up, but I love that.
I do
Singularity.
love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the most beautiful compliments I've ever received is you are singular, because it's like recognizing the everybody has this unique individual expression. And like what Emerson is always talking about, it is like self-reliance is not conforming, not just being a sheep, not just towing the line, right? Being in that power. And when you live in your own reflection and not in someone else's shadow, you are living your best self.
Yes. I'm going to put this quote up. I found it. Ready? Here we go.
Yes.
This is what Charles Fillmore had to say. All students of metaphysics should read Emerson. His writings contain the essence of all the higher thoughts that are now being lavishly given to the world. Emerson anticipates the modern school of metaphysics and gives voice in his essays to the truths which have been formulated in divine science.
Yes.
That's Charles Fillmore.
Yeah.
Saying,
love
hey,
it. Way to go,
we should
Charles.
all be studying this. Yeah. So, yes, I say
in 1889.
1889 in an issue of Modern Thought magazine, which subsequently became Unity magazine, which is now Spirituality and Health, a Unity publication magazine.
Wow.
So here we are.
That's great.
I want to say this is a great quote, Heather. You're right. I like the quote, God is love. That is true.
Yeah.
And Heather, I did get your, this is totally personal. I did get your email. I will be reaching out today. I just want you to know.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I love Emerson. He said, my life is not an apology, but a life. It is for itself and not for a spectacle. I much prefer that it should be of a lower strain, so it be genuine and equal, than that it should be glittering and unsteady. Oh yes, love it, love it.
Yeah,
yeah. So, and that's hilarious, right? We're in the New Thought movement. Like I just quotation mark that up, New Thought, because it's really about being a new thinking movement. Because all of like our history is so rich, right? Our history is so rich, and that was written in 1889. So Emerson, you know, the history of Emerson, he's a rebel. He was a radical. He started a whole new church because he was tired of the old ways. No one wanted to change and grow their minds. And so he you know, the transcendentalist movement was a bunch of radicals going, we want something different. And we are, we're still quoting them. We're still trying to, just language in there, live up to, that was my, you know, these constructs of self-reliance.
Yeah. Well, we absolutely, I mean, there is no denying the influence of transcendentalism on New Thought and on the development of New Thought. You know, the transcendentalists, they were rebels. They were radical thinkers for the time, but also trying to balance the radicalism with the culture that they were in as well. You know, and I think we're all still doing that. We're all still
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a good quote. There's a good thing to consider, though, as Audrey wrote. Should, because the
Did
influence.
I say should?
No. You know who said
Oh,
it? Charles Fillmore.
Charles Fillmore.
Charles Fillmore said all students of metaphysics should read Emerson.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Audrey, don't should on me. What replace should with? Here's the thing: you get to decide. There is no shoulding here. I think there is great benefit and value personally in reading Emerson if you are a student of this philosophy, of the metaphysical philosophy. And so I would encourage, but there's no shoulding. You don't have to.
In 1889, they were shoulding.
They were shoulding. Yeah.
Because their heart was so big, they wanted everyone to receive this wisdom and knowledge and perspective. There is a different way of being. And now we do have this subconscious or conscious word police in our minds when we're trying to express ourselves. Oh my goodness, the things the list of things I shouldn't say anymore because of whatever. I was like, the language is so like, if we have a cancel culture now, like we've got this cultural experience where we don't like being shit on, for sure. I got a text message months ago that triggered me for like 3 days because my first response was, "You're not the boss of me." And that's, so if someone shoulds on us, that's exactly what we're saying. There's that inner child that's like, "You're not the boss of me. You can't tell me what to do." Yeah. And I'm like, that's me. That's my life. I don't know about everybody else. I think everybody else is way more awake than me, for sure. But for me, I even like we should on ourselves all the time. So let's start there.
Yeah. I want to put up Heather's. Yes, they were brave to speak differently when the idea of "we are God" was blasphemous. My thought is the idea of "we are God" or "I am God." I think in many circles it's still blasphemous.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I posted a. So I've reduced the amount that I'm posting things on TikTok. So I do have a TikTok channel, I guess. And what I was doing is I was taking clips from various Sunday messages, and I was just throwing them up there. And there was one clip, it was about a 15-second clip, where I really go to the heart of what of a conversation I had with Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, where he said, "Forgiveness is not necessary when you master spiritual understanding." And so there was this quotation that has been really prevalent for me in terms of my approach to spirituality, because the second part of my community's mission statement is forgive everything, right? And he said, "I challenge you on that." It's like, oh, okay. He said, if you master spiritual understanding, there's nothing to forgive. And so I did this post on TikTok where it was clipped from a talk where I talk about this quote a little bit, and I say, I still need to be forgiving of myself in the practice of mastering spiritual understanding. It was a whole thing. Anyway, I got a comment from someone who has a more traditional, a more traditional, because what's traditional, except what we decide is traditional, religious path. And they basically said, I'm like, do I really want to say this? Yes, I'm going to say this. They basically said, great, so Jesus died on the cross, and we should just forget all about that because we can master spiritual understanding. And I was like, oh, it just, like, the point was not understood at all. And that's challenging, right?
Well, Jesus dying on the cross is not understood.
I hold that to be so as well. Yeah. I think there is a misunderstanding in terms of, but that's a whole other
rant. A whole other rant. And I would chew on that. I would chew on that with you for sure.
Yeah. Well, actually, here's what I'm going to suggest. I think that my encouragement to you, I'm not going to tell you what you should do.
Yeah.
My encouragement to you, and I may see if I can go onto Amazon.ca and order it for you. There is a book called Paul and Jesus, and I'm looking for it. It's on my shelf over here. Oh yeah, there it is. I'm going to encourage you to read that book, Paul and Jesus, because it is a great book that sort of outlines the ministry of Jesus and the ministry of Paul. And they were not the same, but much of what we consider to be traditional Christianity comes from Paul. I mean, most of the New Testament, a lot of the New Testament are the letters of Paul, right? And so there's a tendency to go towards all of that material. And there's a lot that's really great in it, but there's a lot that was direct contradiction with what Jesus was teaching.
Yeah.
And so it's a great book for that exploration. And then you and I think we should have maybe a whole rant on Paul and Jesus. Talk about
Paul. Let me tell you about Paul.
Yes. And there's another thing that I used once. I did a workshop at a spiritual conference around transgender issues. You ready for this? And one of the things I pointed out is, there's actually biblical support for not dead naming people. Because if you were going to dead name people, then why would we ever call Paul Paul? We should all refer to him as Saul. If you think
as Saul, that's right.
Yeah. Or Abraham should just be Abram. Sarah should be Sarai. So let's not dead name people, because what that represents in Scripture is the illumination of the divine in the individual.
That's right.
That's when they have a change of name.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Angela saying, hey,
and it's in many cultures after a life transformative experience to have a new name bestowed. Yeah. So it's historic. It's nothing new. This isn't the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's just rhubarb, baby. The neighbor dog is barking, so Danny woke up. Oh,
it could also be that Danny is agreeing with us.
She is. Yeah. For sure. We definitely have support.
Yeah.
To have that conversation, right? It would be quite interesting. I have in my spiritual life, I have a divine and holy imagination that has great conversations with what other people would say clairvoyance, or those kinds of things. And so Yeshua and I have a really beautiful there's a name right there.
Yeah.
He was renamed Jesus, but his name was Yeshua.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right there.
Yeah. And that's it also is a call to the nature of language, that language does not have a consistent meaning. I remind people that, dictionary definitions are descriptive, not prescriptive, and that we're doing the best we can. Again, I don't know, we keep coming back to this language thing. We're doing the best we can with a very clumsy tool.
Yes.
And then the example that I give of how definitions change is the very word passion. Do you think passion is a good thing, Steph?
I think so.
Yeah, because it feels like, oh, you have a passion for something that you're doing, right? It's a good feeling. It's like, oh, there's a stirring in the soul.
Stirring, yeah.
Right? It's a stirring in the soul that we define using the word passion. But the original meaning of the word passion is suffering. That's why the passion of the Christ is not about the stirring of the soul of the Christ. It is the suffering of the Christ.
Right.
And so words change in their meaning, literally.
So, and the passion of my life has been spiritually motivated, that my life is spiritually motivated. And so there was a day I put down the cross, right? Like, oh my God, why am I carrying this everywhere I go? And so I totally get that. Like my passion for being spiritually motivated, my passion for being conscious and awake human being as much as possible has created suffering in my life for sure. Like, am I saying the right thing? And am I getting this message across? Why are people looking at me with blank faces? Like, oh my goodness, because you know, that call that I first heard that supposed to, right? When I was 10 years old, I had this spiritual moment and I heard that voice that said, you will teach this, because I had this moment where everything around me, I understood that oneness. I saw everything collide in light and beauty and grace. It was magnificent. I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I heard, and I got the message that I will teach this. I'm going to teach oneness. Yeah, right. And I just ran up the hill and found some toys, right? And then I made a mess of my life so that I could have wisdom and experience to share that connects me back to that original thing that sparked whatever it is my life story. So yeah, I love it.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes. And you know, and it's amazing too, like language, we started with grunts as human beings, right? Right. And there's language on every continent, and there's hundreds of languages within segments of each country. And here I'm just trying to understand freaking English. Like that's all that I've got going on in my head. And there are people who know 7 different languages, and just like the nuances between, like I'm pretending to learn French. I have a 700+ day streak on Duolingo, and I couldn't, you know, it's just a mind thing for me, because like, so I'm pretending to learn French.
Yeah.
But like how sentences form between French and English, I'm like, that's backwards. but to French, it's forward.
You're right. The thing that gets me with French, because I've dabbled into French a little bit, the thing that gets that blows my mind and I cannot understand it, and I like, because I don't know, there's something in my brain that just like clicks off, and that is counting. Numbers in French don't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like if we were to translate it directly into English, it's like 40 times 2 plus 10 minus 3. Like, I mean, I'm making it up. It's like an extreme example.
That's hilarious. That reminds me, like my dad is French. Like my last name is Saint Amand, right? So when spoken in the French accent, it's Saint Amand. And I used to have this, I made this joke all the time that the only thing French about me is my last name and the ability to do a French accent. That's it. And so in grade school, my dad spoke English to me all the time, and I would get him to help with my math homework because he is the math guy, and I was horrible at math. And so he's helping me with the homework, and I'm like, Dad, could you now do that in English for me? Because he wasn't even aware that he was doing math in French.
Yeah.
It was, good times. Good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks, Heather.
I grew up in Southern Arizona, and if I'm about to should on myself. I should have probably learned Spanish. I opted to take German in high school, and but in my previous career as an actor, having studied German came in really handy, because if you look at my type, I was cast in a lot of Germanic type roles, some of which required some knowledge of German. So it worked out for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all works out. There is no accident because
Right.
God's got a plan. Let's just circle all the way back to the beginning of this
All the way back.
conversation.
Does God have a plan?
Does God have a plan? Clearly. And it's always unfolding brilliantly, exactly as it is, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Heather. I am learning. I am learning. I absolutely am. He's on the IMDb.
No. Here's the thing you need to know. I was a stage actor primarily. I did musical theater on stage. 99.9% of my career was on stage. The one movie I am credited with doing that you can find on IMDb, my recommendation is you run far, far away from that piece of garbage. It is a terrible movie. It is a movie that I wish all copies were burned of. Of course, now I'm like intriguing people like,
now you're
right?
like, why is this movie getting an uptick? What the heck?
And it is a very, there is a very kind of, let's just say it was early in my career.
Yeah, we make different choices early on in our careers for sure.
I was in my 20s when I did this movie, and there are some things that now are, part of it that I would have made a different decision now if I had known then what I know now in terms of my participation. So that's all. It wasn't porn. I just want to be really clear.
Yeah, be clear about that. Thank you, Dr. Jay-Z. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have no issue with porn, by the way. We could have a whole rant on porn, but that's another rant.
The only kind I watch is food porn.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, I love watching people cook.
Oh my God. We are so off track now, but
we are off track. Yeah. I was gonna, like, we're winding down here. We're losing people.
I feel like we've had the spiritual conversation. Now we're talking about food porn. The reality competition show Next Level Chef. If you've not watched it, it is worth the watch.
Oh, I watched Nailed It.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Nailed It?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. It's people who think they can bake and they can't bake. And so their reveal is nailed it. And like, they have a model of something they're supposed to make. And like, it's amazing how far off these people are. And it's called Nailed It. Nice. It's hilarious. Yeah. And I use that in my life now. Like when I make a joyful error, like, oh, nailed it. Yeah.
Well, I think we've nailed it today.
I think so. Yeah. It's
always a delight to spend time with you, Steph.
Yes. And all of our beautiful people watching with us and conversing with us. We so appreciate this connection, this opportunity. And remember, if you have topics, thoughts, and things you want us to rant about, our email addresses are right there for you. Steph@oneloveawakening.com. Rev Jonathan.
Yeah. Rev Jonathan at unitytucson.com.
Here we go. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah. Wonderful. And of course, you can keep commenting on this. If you're watching the replay, we want to know that too. Hashtag replay in the comments. And I know I go back and love up everybody for sure.
Yeah. Just a reminder, I'm going to be at Unity Village next week. I'll reach out to you, Steph, before Friday to let you know what I think the possibility of my being present for the rant is next week.
Awesome.
That I'll be able to be online, but I won't be in my office if I am.
Yeah, airport.
Yeah. I won't be at the airport. My flight's not till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so
yeah,
I think I should be okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, everybody. Love everybody so freaking much. You're doing wonderfully at living your life, and you are absolute magnificent.
Yes, indeed.
You are magnificence. You are everything you need to be. Keep being you and shine your light.
That's what I always say. You are magnificent. It's not because of anything you do. it is just the core of your being. So yeah,
Yep.
grateful
Yep.
for this time. We'll talk to you all. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.